good day to stay on. Now's your chance.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Jack Reeve, TalkNorwichCity here, back for another video. Hope you guys are all doing really well. Slightly croaky voice, still recovering from that mammoth game against Ipswich at Portman Road. It lasted for what felt like days. There was so much injury time in both halves, weren't there? But yeah, I left doing a review yesterday, mainly because I was on a coach full of Ipswich fans coming back to London. I couldn't really do a review on there. I could have done, but I don't think I would have come off the coach in one piece. Although all of the Ipswich fans yesterday, most of them, were actually really pleasant. So thank you. Probably thanks to Ben Bloom. So thank you, Ben, for maybe putting a bit of a better name out there for me. But yeah, it was an interesting game, wasn't it? And I felt like I wanted to do the review 24 hours after, just to take the emotion out of it slightly and look at where Norwich are as a club and Ipswich are as a club, I guess. I think the overriding feeling for me was, I saw a stat before the game that said this is the lowest kind of contested East Anglian derby, and I think it was 61 years. The Twitter account at NCFC Numbers tweeted it out, with Ipswich sitting rock bottom. I think we were 21st or something going into the game. So this was the lowest contested derby for absolutely ages. And it replicated that stat on the pitch. I thought both sides lacked quality. I think I was maybe a bit generous to Ipswich actually going into the game. I was kind of lured into this whole Paul Hurst new regime, and you know, these interesting players that had been brought in. I thought they looked really poor. And I know I've only watched Ipswich a couple of times this season. The first game where I've watched a full 90 of them play. But we were kind of told, weren't we, that Paul Hurst was bringing in this new fancy style of football, and Ipswich fans can get excited about a new era. From what I've seen, it was probably worse than Mick McCarthy's football at times. I'm not sure if it was just because of the derby, and I know Norwich had to revert to long ball tactics for a little bit, but at least under McCarthy, there were players with real bits of quality, sort of the Daryl Murphys, the Tyrone Mingses, the Tom Lawrences. They were players that if they got the ball, you kind of thought, oh, okay, something could happen here. With Ipswich yesterday, I was quite comfortable when any player got the ball that I didn't think a real piece of quality was going to happen. John Walters led the line for them. I'm surprised he started. It was evident he wasn't match fit. However, I think Grant Hanley, Jamal Lewis, I thought the whole defensive line handled the game fairly well, actually, considering at times, you know, Tim Close was off injured, and then we brought on, or Max Aaron started. I'll get onto that in a bit. We essentially had three 20-year-olds in our back line yesterday. That's fantastic. Max Aaron's, of course, younger than that. So I was disappointed. Well, I say I'm disappointed. Ipswich were worse than I thought they would be. Norwich, I thought, were the better side in the first half. I think it was fairly even. I think if any team was going to score, Norwich looked slightly more likely, although John Walters hit the post, didn't he, from a speculative sort of effort from range. But I thought Norwich looked more controlled. When we had the ball on the floor, we looked dangerous. However, I think Skuse' injury for Ipswich, although at the time it looked really bad, I'm hearing it's not as bad as first thought. I think that benefited Ipswich. Once Chalobah came on the pitch, it seemed like the midfield, or we couldn't get the ball on the floor as much. I'm not sure if it was Chalobah's introduction or a little change up tactically, but we found it more difficult to keep the ball on the floor. There wasn't a goal in the first half, of course. Then Ipswich took the lead. They were the better team for 10 or so minutes in the second half, and that's the frustrating thing for me as a Norwich City fan this season. In all games, whoever you're playing, you're going to be on the back foot for 10-15 minutes in every single game this season, and it doesn't look like we can sustain any kind of pressure without conceding. Ipswich were pressing, they were throwing balls into the box, but we should have been able to deal with that, and Gwion Edwards popped up with a goal. Admittedly, it was lucky, but however, I feel like, I haven't watched it back, I must admit, but at real time it looked like they should have had a stonewalled penalty in the first half. It was, I can't remember his name, got booked for diving. So I think they were good value for their lead in the end. Gwion Edwards was probably, for me, their most impressive player. He's looked good at times this season. I think that's a nice little signing for them. And at that point, I thought, oh God, here we go. Like, this could really turn. Gwion Edwards then gets another chance. It was literally 5 minutes after, wasn't it, when he ran through. Our midfield was nowhere to be seen. Our defence backed off, and Gwion Edwards dragged the shot wide. I think that moment was the turning point. If Edwards bangs it in from there, we go on to lose that game 2-3-0. However, it seemed to flip then, and Norwich had that sustained period of 10 minutes, and Ipswich just couldn't handle us defensively. Hernandez broke down the left, who was a threat the whole game, and pulled it back to Leitner, and I thought it was a fantastic finish. Real time, I thought Dean Gherkin should have probably done better. Having watched it back, it was a beautiful shot from Moritz Leitner, and what a time to score your first ever goal for Norwich City. After that, both teams had the odd chance, didn't they? But it was kind of, in the end, I think 1-1 was a fair result. In terms of the team, I thought Tim Krul looked more settled. I'm still not fully convinced, but I think he's slowly, very slowly, but surely growing into a decent Championship goalkeeper. I never doubted it. I just questioned Norwich City fans who were really, really excited about Tim Krul. I still don't think he's the keeper he was 4 or 5 years ago when most people saw him play last. Defensively, I think the defensive line for me was the most pleasing part yesterday. Grant Hanley was back to his best, commanding. For me, in a derby, you need that player who's willing to throw his head into things, who's willing to just rise above and command the back line. Grant Hanley done that impeccably yesterday. I thought he was absolutely excellent. He got his face cut, didn't he, in the first half, just ran it off. He was so good in the air up against John Walters and Caden Jackson. I thought he had an excellent game. Surrounded by youth, really. I mean, Jamal Lewis down the left, we all know what he's about. A fantastic athlete. He was very calm. Max Aarons down the right. Now, I said, didn't I, in my review after the Cardiff game, that, you know, he's really showcased himself well for a starting place against Ipswich. I didn't think Farke would be that bold and put him in. Fair play to Farke. I thought Max Aarons was absolutely brilliant for his first league start against Ipswich at Portman Road. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Gave something down the right. A lot more defensively astute than either Pinto has been all season. It's interesting this, isn't it? Because Pinto's failings and Marshall not really being a right back has played into Max Aarons' hand, and he's really grabbed it by the horns. Lewis last year, it was all because of Husband's failings and Stiepermann's failings that he came in and grabbed the chance. Yes, they've been lucky that the two players in front of them haven't performed well, but they've still had to take their chance well, and I fully expect Max Aarons to be on the starting lineup sheet for the next game against Middlesbrough after the international break. So well done to them, and when Ben Godfrey came on, I thought he was brilliant as well. It was a shame to see Tim Closer go off with that, I think it was a hamstring injury or something. Oh no, it's a concussion, wasn't it? But I thought Ben Godfrey filled in really nicely. Maybe that real change in kind of the defensive line did contribute to Edwards' goal and going 1-0 behind. But I thought that was a really pleasing thing, and it's nice to see youth players coming in and taking their chances, that's for sure. The midfield, for me, I still don't know, and I still don't know if Daniel Farke quite knows the balance. I thought Tete was okay. I think his legs have gone a few misplaced passes, but I think we needed that experienced head in there. Leitner, despite the goal, and it was a lovely goal, and it got us back into the game, so well done. I don't think he was that great. He drifts in and out of games a little bit. He's a bit of a luxury player, which is cool. He's a creative player, and yes, he came up with the goods yesterday. I'm not sure if that's the type of player you want in there for an East Anglian derby. At times, I think we had to revert to long ball, and that was because we simply couldn't hold the possession. I wanted a little bit more control in that midfield, and I do wonder whether a Godfrey pushed forward or Thompson, who did come on and then got injured and remarkably trooped through with a pulled hamstring. So fair play to Louis Thompson. I just wonder if we needed a bit more of a combative midfielder in there. I think if Kenny McLean was fit, he would have started. But it's great to see Leitner get that goal. I'm sure he'll go from strength to strength now. And despite none of the front line getting the goal, Hernandez, Pukki and Rhodes, I thought once again they were really good. Rhodes held the ball up nicely when he was on. I think he'll be disappointed he didn't get a goal, but I thought he'd done well. Hernandez has worn off a little bit since his unbelievable start to the season, but I think that was only natural. It'll be interesting to see now whether Pukki and Rhodes can pick up a bit of that weight and responsibility that Hernandez delivered and contribute. I thought Pukki was really good yesterday. Sometimes he's a little slow to release the ball, but I like Pukki. I think he's an integral part to this team. So on the whole, I mean, not the ideal result. If you take the emotion out of it, we only just scraped the point against the bottom of the side, or bottom of the table Championship side. But I think to go 1-0 down and really battle hard with the team we had out, I think you can only be pleased with that. And Daniel Farke's got an interesting few weeks now, because September, on paper, we have to be doing well. I know you can't base the Championship on paper, but September looks fairly easy. October looks incredibly difficult with the fixtures we've got. So we need a really good September, and hopefully that will come. But I think the lads can take confidence from the East Anglian derby. about a 6 out of 10 really. You can't be too disheartened, you can't be too excited with it, and as always these Anglian derbies usually don't provide the hype that we all gave it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm intrigued to see what you thought. You might think it was a fantastic point, you might think we should have got more from up against a pretty poor Ipswich side, but it's fascinating, isn't it, that Ipswich thought they'd, you know, ended that 10-year unbeaten run but still couldn't. And I think if there was ever a chance to beat us, it was yesterday, because we're certainly not playing great football at the moment. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.